Messiah. I don't know the Bahasa word for impersonate. And even if you tell me, I might not be able to pronounce it. If he is to impersonate the true Messiah and convince the Jews that he is indeed the true Messiah, then of course he would have to also rule the world. Isn't that so? Don't you agree with me? Well, he's almost there now. It probably will be not just another few years, and he would have Israel installed as the ruling state in the world, which is why we have big wars coming up now, probably within a few months from now. And those big wars would be intended to deliver to Israel the status of ruling state in the world. And when Israel becomes the ruling state in the world, that's the plan. Then he's going to emerge in human form. He's already here, but you can't see him. And then he's going to stand up in Jerusalem. He's going to come from Khorasan, but he's going to stand up in Jerusalem as the ruler of Israel and say, I am the Messiah. But he would not be the Messiah. He would be the false Messiah. He would be Dajjal. And he uses lots of strategies to achieve his rule over the world. One of them is money and the economy. And that is our subject for Saturday night, Yom Sabtu. I think the lecture is somewhere in Subanjaya. So do please attend that lecture. So the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wasalam, that the greatest fitna that mankind would experience from the time of Adam alayhi salam to the last day would be the fitna of Dajjal, the test, the trials, the deceptions of Dajjal. And if he tests us and we fail, he's going to succeed and he will rule the world. It is instructive that nowhere in the Quran is the word Dajjal to be found. Nowhere. But the Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, that if you recite the first 10 ayat of Surah Al-Kahf, and in another hadith, the last 10 as well, it will protect you from the fitna of Dajjal. And so Surah Al-Kahf is recognized as the surah of ilmu akhiru zaman. This is the surah of ilmu akhiru zaman. Because Dajjal is the mastermind of akhiru zaman. And the beginning of this surah offers you protection from his fitna. But the surah does more than that, and we will come to it inshallah later. So it is in this surah, Surah Al-Kahf, and it's not by accident that Allah now chooses to narrate the episode of Musa alayhi salam traveling to the place where the two oceans meet in search of the most learned of all men. This is not by accident, because there is a link between Dajjal and this most learned of all men. And tonight we speaking to you, the Jewish people, and we the followers of Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam, we taking you on a journey so you can meet those who are most learned, more learned than you are. He is known as Khidr alayhi salam, but his name is not to be found in the Quran. Why? It's an interesting question. Why does Allah not put the name Dajjal in the Quran? Why? When no one poses a greater threat to faith than Dajjal. No one, not even Shaitan. Why is the name Khidr not found in the Quran? Why? Is it by accident? No, it's not. And as we proceed, if I forget, remind me, we'll explain why, in our opinion, these names are not to be found in the Quran. But this journey on which he now embarks is to be found in Surah Al-Kahf. And I want to say to you, to share with you, since I've been studying this subject, for about 20 years now or more, Ilmu Akhirul Zaman, I want to share with you my opinion that there is no passage in the whole Quran more important for understanding Ilmu Akhirul Zaman and for understanding Akhirul Zaman than this passage of the Quran. The encounter of Musa alayhi salam with Khidr alayhi salam, which is in Surah Al-Kahf. So you may want to go back to your Quran and sit down and study the passage. I wrote this book, Surah Al-Kahf in the Modern Age. And in this book there is a chapter on the encounter of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr alayhi salam. But don't read it. Go first to the Quran and study it yourself. And after you have studied it, then read what I have said. Don't miss your homework. Why is he Khidr? Khidr means green. So when I teach this subject to children, I call him Mr. Green. Mr. Green. Why is he called green? No one else in the Quran or in the Hadith has a name which is the color green. The Prophet said, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, that Khidr alayhi salam, one went to a land which was barren, brown, nothing growing. And he sat down. And when he sat down there, everything became luxuriously green, like Malaysia. You know how green Malaysia is? When the Arab from the desert comes to Malaysia, he said, this is heaven, this is paradise. All the greenery here. So when he sat down in that barren land, like Abu Dhabi and Dubai and everything became green. Why is it that he caused everything to become green? The answer is in the story as we proceed. So Musa alayhi salam is in search of this most learned of all men, who is known as Mr. Green, Khidr alayhi salam. When I use the word alayhi salam, a problem emerges, because our religious culture in Islam is that we speak of prophets and we say Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam. So is he a prophet? Why do you say Khidr alayhi salam? No, we do not know. Is he a prophet or is he not? The Quran does not answer that question. The Ahadith do not answer that question. And this speaker will not answer that question. But we know that a prophet of Allah, who is one of the supreme prophets, has to go to him as a student sitting with a teacher. A teacher of prophets? This is a man of great stature. And so the Jews should be interested in knowing about him. As they were traveling to the place where the two oceans meet, we come upon the second problem. Is this to be understood literally? That this is the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, and where these two oceans meet at Cape Town, that's what they told me, Cape Town. you will find the most loaded of all men in Cape Town. My opinion, respectfully so, is that this is not to be interpreted or understood literally. And we come up now with the second problem. The second problem is that there is a methodology. There is a methodology which is very prominent in today's world of Islam, which declares, falsely so in my opinion, but I speak respectfully, not disrespectfully, that only Allah and His Messenger, alayhi salatu wasalam, and the early Muslims, the Aslaf, plural of Salaf, only they are authorized to interpret the Quran and the Hadith. And if they did not interpret, you cannot interpret. No. Tabule. And I say no, you're wrong. Knowledge did not stop 1400 years ago. There's more knowledge in the Quran that was communicated. There is more knowledge in the Quran that was communicated to us by the Aslaf. And that new knowledge that comes will explain the Quran, in addition to what was already given in the Quran. And so there was a mufassir of the Quran, Imam al-Baydawi, rahimahullah. And Imam al-Baydawi says that the two oceans are not the Atlantic and Pacific, but he refers to two other oceans symbolically, as for example the ocean of knowledge that comes from above, the ocean of knowledge that is internally received and didn't stop 1400 years ago, is still coming, and the ocean of knowledge that is externally acquired, scientific knowledge. And I am persuaded that this is the correct interpretation of the two oceans. That in Akhirul Zaman in particular, you will find the most learned of all men, the only one who can penetrate the world in Akhirul Zaman, the only one who can explain the world in Akhirul Zaman, the only one who can respond to the challenges of the world in Akhirul Zaman, is the one who stands at Majma'ul Bahrain. That scholar of Islam who combines knowledge externally acquired and the knowledge internally received. Now I have to stop, because I have to answer these critics. They're coming after me. Now they're even ridiculing me, but I will not respond to their ridicule. Is there knowledge that can still be received today? New knowledge. Let me take them, because you already know, I don't have to tell you. Let me tell them that Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam said, hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, he said that Nabuwa or prophethood is comprised of how many parts? Help me somebody.